to you by Kellogg's. Kellogg's cereals. The best to you each morning from Kellogg's of Battle Creek. Now let's all play What's My Line? And now, live from New York, let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now a distinguished visitor from across the Atlantic who has several avocations, author, playwright, but whose main interest for the past 17 years has been sitting as a member of Parliament. Tonight, for a half hour, he will be sitting as a member of the panel. Sounds like a demotion, but it's not really. Welcome, Maurice Edelman.
And now I'd like to introduce that famous writer with a remarkable reputation on both sides of the Atlantic, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
And I should like to introduce someone who has been up cavorting in Harvard with his handsome son, who undoubtedly is training to be a member of the government, Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
Maurice, welcome. Mr. Edelman took me and my family through Parliament last summer. Wonderful experience. And here is our perspicacious and peripatetic panel moderator, Mr. John Charles Daly, just back from California.
It is true, I finally got myself a bit of suntan. I've been out in California, though, working hard on one of my major projects, that of a clean water program for our nation.
I didn't know you drank it, John.
I do drink water, Bennett. Particularly interested in its being nice and clean, but the California Water Pollution Association has been meeting in convention, one of the most effective groups in the nation working for clean water, and I hope it's a spirit that catches on in all 50 of our states. May I say, Mr. Edelman, it's nice to have a member of Parliament sitting with us tonight. We hope you enjoy this half hour.
Thank you very much.
We promise to make it slightly difficult for you if we can. We will also have a famous mystery guest before the members of the panel a little bit later in the program, and we'll meet our first. And now to meet our first contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Alanta Tucker, is that right? Is it Miss or Mrs. Tucker? Mrs. Tucker, and where are you from?
Formerly of Ketchikan, Alaska, and now at Seattle, Washington.
Oh, Seattle, Washington's very lucky, and Ketchikan was lucky before Seattle was. It's nice to have you with us. May I present our panel? Mrs. Tucker, now will you join me over here, please? Miss Tucker, do you know how we keep score on What's My Line?
Yes.
All right, in that event, we'll let the audience at home and the audience in the theater know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, Mrs. Tucker is salaried and deals in a service. And let's begin the general questioning with Bennett, Cerf.
Mrs. Tucker, a magnificent fair has just opened in Seattle. Have you got any connection whatever with the new fair in Seattle?
Yes, I do.
Do you act in some official capacity at that fair? I mean, is your job connected with the fair?
Yes.
Do you have to stay on the fairgrounds most of the time?
Yes.
Do you do anything about greeting visitors to the fair?
No.
Well, I would say, with your permission, Mrs. Tucker, while the issue of greeting here is very broadly interpreted, Mrs. Tucker does have some contact with the general public coming through I wouldn't insist that it was greeting in the formal sense, Bennett, but I don't suppose you meant it formally, did you?
No, I didn't.
No, I wouldn't think you did.
Mrs. Tucker, are you connected with the management of the fair?
No.
That's 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Francis.
Mrs. Tucker, can we rule out that you have anything to do with public relations? You're not with the public relations office connected with the fair. Do you have anything to do with a specific exhibition at the fair?
Yeah.
Is it an exhibition that represents a particular city?
A city?
Mm-hmm.
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Edelman.
Well, Miss Tucker, you're a very attractive young woman. If the service that you perform, if I were to come to Seattle, could you perform that service for me?
Yeah.
You bet.
And and would I enjoy that service if you did perform it for me?
I believe so.
Yes, I would like to say, Mr. Edelman, here that Mrs. Tucker's specific performance would be of interest, would be one that you might seek out. It doesn't necessarily apply solely to you, but would apply to you in the general sense of a visitor to the fair.
And in that general sense, Miss Tucker, do you give guidance to visitors to the fair?
No.
You mean guidance
Or advice? Do you give guidance or advice to the people who come to the fair?
in terms of the locus of exhibits at the fair and what is there that is interesting,
Yes,
that might be seen and that sort of thing? No, that's right. She does. That's fine. 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
In other words, she is not a guide.
That's right.
Well, that just threw out my whole line of questioning. Thank you, Mr. Edelman. Do you have anything to do with that marvelous-looking restaurant that's on top of a tower?
No, I don't.
No, that's 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Tucker, the thing that interests me most about this fair is a monorail that runs from the city out to the fair. Have you got anything to do with that monorail?
Nothing whatsoever.
That's 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
Is there anything entertaining about your particular part of the fair, the part that you participate in?
Yeah.
But people
In the
watch
broad
you.
sense, Arlene, it would have to be considered in the broadest sense that it would be entertaining to...
I mean, apart from just sightseeing of the building.
That's right.
Would several people require your services then at the same time, perhaps?
Yeah.
Might they watch you demonstrate or do something at the fair?
Yeah.
Do you handle any kind of equipment while you are performing this service?
Yes, I do.
Would it be an easily recognizable piece of equipment to the people that are watching?
No.
Oh, I'm jumping all over now.
Would be to some, but not to others, I guess.
When
huh,
you
John?
say easily recognizable, you mean in terms of specific identification. They'd say that's a washing machine or that's a refrigerator and something. They would be able to immediately
They would know what it was,
classify
yes.
what they're looking at. That's fine. That's 6 down and 4 to go, Miss
Thank the
Francis.
heap.
Miss Tucker, do you use your voice in connection with your jobs?
Yes.
And do you, in addition to that, do you work with a group of people at any given moment while you're discharging your duties?
Do I work with a group?
Yes,
Yeah.
you do.
You mean
You mean as a part of a group performing in the same general tasks?
Well, yes, in association with people who are doing a similar kind of job.
Yeah.
Yes, there are others doing a similar
Yeah.
kind.
In fact, does money pass between you and the general public in the course of your duties?
Does money?
Money.
Does money?
pass.
No.
That's 7 down and 3 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Mrs. Tucker, may I rule out that you are a model?
Yeah.
Is this equipment solid rather than liquid?
Yeah.
Yes, we're getting into an area which can be confusing. There is equipment
it
of, well, I don't mean, I just want to clarify it for you, Dorothy. There is equipment here that is all solid, to be sure. There is some elements that perhaps you would quibble about description on as being equipment, but there is equipment there and there are other elements present, too.
I see. Does your particular exhibition have anything to do with our military strength or our outer space program?
In a general sense, I would say yes, wouldn't you? But in a very general way.
Very general.
Well, does it have to do with some equipment that usually we don't see in our daily lives?
Oh, yeah.
Would it be more likely to be found at Cape Canaveral or up in Nebraska or someplace like that?
No.
No, that's 8 down, Two to go. I'm going to give you one more minute. Mr.
Mrs.
Cerf?
Tucker, you did tell us, I believe, that you are connected really with one particular exhibit at the fair, didn't you?
Yes.
Is that particular exhibit being made by a non-profit making organization?
Is it a non-profit making?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Is it the United States government?
Yes.
And it has nothing to do with our military?
We said military or space. We said in a general way it could be so described.
Has it anything to do with rockets or jets or orbiting objects?
In a general sense, yes.
Well, would it be anything connected with the shooting off of these things?
Not specifically, but what we meant to suggest... 9 to 1, yes?
Can I take one more chance?
Yeah?
Does it have anything to do with the way space ships will be furnished?
You mean the interior furnishings of a spaceship?
Oh, John, you know I didn't mean that.
That's right. That no more to go. Yeah.
Does she have something to do with describing a planetarium?
No, actually, it's in the U.S. Science exhibit, that wonderful soaring building that, was it Mr. Yamasaki, I believe, designed. But Mrs. Tucker is a pigeon trainer. They have an experiment going on. They have an experiment going on to the degree of intelligence that can be engendered in a pigeon in the identification of colors, patterns, and so forth. And Mrs. Tucker, first of all, took 3 months of intensive training, works for the Department of Commerce. And she conducts this experiment for the public with the pigeons and
But don't you
this
think,
machinery.
John, we could all recognize a pigeon if we saw one?
Well, there's a lot of other equipment there, you see. The machine you wouldn't
I
recognize.
know a pigeon when I see one, I'll tell you.
Stop looking at me, please, Arlene, when you say things like that. There's one more thing we should know about Mrs. Tucker. She was Miss Alaska in the Miss America contest of 1959, were you not?
Much more
And I
likely
believe
than a pigeon
Mr. Bennett Cerf was a judge down there in Atlantic City.
The year before.
The year before you were
Well,
there.
if if I'd been a judge when she appeared, she'd have been Miss America.
Couldn't have missed. Couldn't have missed. Well, thank you very much, and much success to you, and certainly that wonderful fair, and Seattle's fine mayor, and all those who've made it possible. Nice to see you. And now to meet a second challenger. Will you enter and sign in, please? Joyce Markson, is that right? Miss or Mrs. Markson?
Mrs.
And where are you from?
New York.
New York. Nice to have you with us. May I present our panel? Mrs.
How do you
Markson.
do?
Join me over here, please. You know how we keep score, Mrs. Markson?
Yes, I do.
Fine. We'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what you're like. All right, panel. Mrs. Markson is self-employed and deals in a product, and we'll begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Mrs. Moxon, is this the product that any of us on the panel might use?
Yes.
Is it something that one could hold in one's hand?
Yes.
Is it a useful product rather than an ornamental one?
Very much so.
This would not rule out, however, the category of ornamental. It just suggests that it has both characteristics.
Correct.
Is it anything that would be seen on the person?
Yes.
Would it be in any way a form of apparel or embellishment?
Well, I should say we could agree that it would in some way or the other be a form of apparel or embellishment, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
If one had this product, would it be seen above the waist?
We would hope so, wouldn't we?
Would it be seen around the area of the neck?
Yes.
I think we could say to a degree it is possible that you might find it around the area of the neck.
Is it something you slip into rather than hang on?
I'll have to ask Mrs. Markson this. I'm out of my depth. Is this something you slip into or hang on?
Technically, I think you could use it either way.
Technically, you could use it either way. There you are.
Is it in any way is it anything that would be seen by one's vis-a-vis if you were sitting in the same room with someone else? It
This
would show.
presupposes the vis-a-vis is looking in your general direction.
You know it.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Is it made of material?
Well, we hope so. We've had a very tough time with things that are not made of material or matter of some kind. You mean now specifically cloth, textile material?
Yes, dear, that's what I mean, as opposed to diamonds or pearls.
You mean, of course, in its entirety?
No, I just wanted to know if there was material in it.
There is material.
Is there any metal attached to it?
Yes.
Is the metal...
There is?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just sitting here learning tonight. Go ahead, Miss Arlene.
Is the metal hook and eye? Or zipper?
That's a double question.
We've got to have a small conference.
Well, some hook and some zip.
Maybe the zipper should be added.
I don't know. One of the categories which you mentioned has some relationship to the product about which we're speaking.
Oh, well, I've got to get off. Does it have arms in it?
Arms? One down.
Sleeves, I meant.
No, one down and 9 to go, Mr. Edelman.
Is it the thing that's worn more by people than by, say, animals?
Yes.
And could it equally be worn by day as well as by night?
Yes.
Is it a common article of apparel?
I think so.
You mean in the terms of universal use?
Yes, or is it something which is used only on ceremonial occasions, say, or is it something in general use?
Oh, in general use, we'd say yes.
It is in general use?
Yes, sir.
When it's used?
Yes.
Yes.
And can it be used equally well in the morning as, say, at night?
Yes, sir.
And sometimes, as a matter of fact, it's preferable, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. On certain occasions, under certain circumstances.
Yes. And is it primarily located around the neck when it's worn?
Well, it has a relationship in its locus to the neck. This would not confine it solely to the neck area. I think it would depend pretty much on the character and kind we were talking about as to the degree of relationship to the neck that would be involved.
Fine. His explanation.
Mr. Maxon, do men wear these things equally with women?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen. At least speaking for myself, that is.
Well, now, you have said that the person sitting in the same room with Arlene would know if she was wearing one. So...
What we said was that it would perceive that it was there, that it would be in sight. We would not claim that everybody would have the degree of technical or expert knowledge to say specifically what character of thing Arlene was at the time wearing.
Oh, come on, John. I'm just asking, is it visible?
Yeah, but we said it was.
In all propriety, is it visible?
Oh, of course in all
I mean, could
propriety.
Arlene sit wearing one of these things in a restaurant?
Yes.
And people wouldn't talk?
Well, I hope not. Well, we would like them to feel, they might comment, but it certainly would have no
If
impropriety.
it has no sleeves, does it have any straps?
No scratch. 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf. I'm going to give you 1 more minute.
Mr. Maxon, is this object worn for a specific purpose, such as either keeping a person warm or protecting them from the elements?
No.
No,
In other words, has no
doesn't
specific
protect.
purpose at all.
Well, it would have a general purpose, but not a specific purpose such as keeping warm or protecting from the elements. So on that basis, we'll give you a no. 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Would it be worn indoors
Yes.
as well as outdoors?
Yes.
Does it hold up anything?
No. 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Edelman.
Is it a natural product?
Oh, yes.
It is a natural product. Is it made of fur, by chance?
Pardon?
Is it made of fur?
Fur. No, not fur. 6 down and 4 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Is it in any sense an ornamentation? You said that it's useful and decorative. Would a person have to be... Tear that up. Would a person have to be in a specific occupation or doing a specific thing to need this? I mean, would it be your guess that we all have one of these at home, but we just don't know about it?
This is an area into which I wouldn't dare venture.
Well, why
But it's
wouldn't
possible.
you? Why wouldn't
Well, I'm going to
you?
throw all the cards in because we've been at it, and you never did get above the neck. If you've gotten above the neck...
It's
I think
wigs?
Right.
It was a neck.
Carita and Joyce Christopher is actually, Joyce Christopher is your professional name, and it's high-style fashion wigs, which, if they're long enough, would have some relationship to the neck, and I couldn't get you to go above the neck, so that I trust you feel it was all fair.
How about zipping yourself into a wig? I love the idea.
We never tried a zipper yet, but we do use hooks and eyes
Yes,
in
you
some
do.
cases.
That's right. I have one with hooks and eyes.
You do use hooks and eyes for a
Yes,
wig?
sir.
And
Well,
hairpins
we
would
live
be
and learn,
necessary.
don't we, John?
We sure do. I've learned a lot in the last few minutes, and thank the good Lord I learned something
And
useful.
if hair keeps getting so scarce, maybe we will be using fur ones.
Well, I hope you're not looking at me when you say when hair keeps getting so scarce. Thank you very much. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, here is a word from our sponsor. Now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity, for which all of my friends have blindfolded. Blindfolds in place, panel?
Yes.
Will you enter Mystery Challenger and sign in, please? All right. Panel, as you know, a different form of questioning, one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise, and we'll begin with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Are you at the moment performing in anything in New York City? Either theater or supper club or anything?
No.
One down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Are you a familiar character in the moving picture scene in Hollywood?
Yeah. Oh, yes, Mrs. Sosa.
Miss Francis?
So. Do you also appear in television?
Yes, domo arigato gozaimashita.
Mr. Edelman?
Have you, sir, often crossed the Atlantic?
Yes.
Miss Kilgallen?
Have you made an attempt to call Kathleen Nesbitt on the telephone this evening after sundown?
No, doitashimashita.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
When you appear on television, do you play a certain character in a television series?
Yes, Shinjimai.
Miss Francis?
Would I be correct in guessing that you do not play a Japanese or a Chinaman?
No.
You are a Japanese. Or Chinaman, huh?
No, yes, you would be correct. No, he does not. Right?
Oh, yes, okay, right. I'm with him.
Mr. Edelman?
Would I be right in saying that you have great popularity in a television series in Great Britain?
This might be so. Mr. Edelman, would you like to name someone so we can get a good idea?
Oh. Is it a Western series?
No, that's not so. 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Are you a leading man in the movies?
Yes.
Mr. Cerf?
You do not play the character of Bat Masterson, is that correct?
No.
That's right. Miss Francis?
Are you someone who has recently appeared on a night show and who is en route to Florida, I believe, or someplace south that you
Just
allow...
name us, Arlene.
Are you Bob Cummings?
Yes. Just finished doing the Tonight Show, and I've got a picture coming, my Geisha.
Yes, we came east. Actually, what she meant was I opened a motor hotel in Joplin, Missouri. And
That
that's
was
why,
it. I heard you
yes.
mention on the air that
That's
you were
right,
going to
and
come east.
I got the Japanese accent from the picture My Geisha. I went over to Japan.
Bob, I'm sorry I've misused the time. Thanks very
Thank
much
you
for
very
being our
much.
guest.
Nice to
Nice
see
to
you.
have you with us. Good night. We'll be back after this word from our alternate sponsor. For all of us, good night and thanks for being with us on What's My Line?
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Todman. This is Johnny Olson speaking. Your dollars are vital ammunition in the American Cancer Society's fight against cancer. Help conquer cancer. Mail your contribution to cancer in care of your local postmaster.